Hello, welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be about transitioning from Texas law enforcement into Texas private security, right? So, as many of you know, the world's kind of wild right now, and it's just kind of getting worse for law enforcement. A lot of people are considering transferring out of the public sector and into the private sector for a lot of good reasons. There's generally better opportunities. You get to spend more time with your family, and you get paid more. So it's kind of like, wow, why am I not doing that? Instead of being like a burned out cop, I can be like a cool private security dude, right? So there's several ways to get it. But if you're an active duty Texas peace officer, right, you're a full-time cop with an agency, it's really, really easy to get your licenses now versus getting out of law enforcement and then trying to get them later, right? So I'm going to talk about how you can get your level 4 PPO, or what's known as a personal protection officer license here in the state of Texas. Okay. Now I got to preface this with, before you get your level 4, you need to get your level 2 and your level 3. So your level 2 is your unarmed, non-commissioned security officer, right? That's just basically like your mall cop that doesn't carry a gun or anything like that. And then you can do that online. That's real easy. A&M, Texas Engineering Extension Service, Teagues, they offer the course online. I will leave a link down to that below if you want to check that out and go ahead and get that taken care of. And then your level 3 as a peace officer is super easy too. You just have to fill it out. But it's basically the same process as your level 4, and that's what I'm going to cover today. Because if you can do it for your level 4, you can do it for your level 3, and you can do it for your level 2, and you can get it all done, right? So if you're on TOPS, which is the Texas Online Private Security website, DPS uses this for all their licensing and everything, right? So on here, whenever you get a account set up and you're looking at it, you got your tabs on top for my profile, my applications, my licenses, da-da-da. We don't care about any of that. We're going to click Start Individual Application, right? You're then going to select the application type. So you got armed, instructor, and unarmed. You'll be doing this for each individual. You can't do multiples at the same time. You got to go through each one individually. It's kind of a pain, but that's how it works. So we're going to select armed. And it's going to take you to this page right here where it shows you the types of armed licenses, right? You got commissioned. Like I said, that's your uniformed patrol officer. They're wearing the gun belt, patches, badge, all that fun stuff. And then a couple of other ones, which we're not going to talk about today. And then your personal protection officer. And I should preface this by saying the personal protection officer is like your bodyguard, right? Plainclothes, undercover looking types. Or the ones in the suit doing the executive protection. That's what this is. That's the highest level currently in the state of Texas, is the level 4. And with that, you're guaranteed to earn a little bit more money than you would be if you were just, a uniformed patrol officer. So you're going to select personal protection officer, and then it's going to take you to your personal information. So you're going to fill this out with exactly what it says on your Texas driver's license. You're going to upload a scan of your DL or ID, whatever you happen to have. That way they have it on file. And then the hang up for a lot of folks here is you have to find a company to carry your license, right? So it's kind of like Teague, right? If you're an active cop, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It means there is somebody that has to carry your commission before you can be a sworn level 4 PPO. So here, if you find a company that's willing to hire you or just carry you on the books, whatever the case may be, you put their license number, date of employment, and click next, and then that will go to them. They will verify saying, yes, this person works for me, this person is a PPO, and it goes on from there. So you'll hit next, and it's going to go to your address information. So you have to enter a physical address. You can't enter a PO box. Some of you live out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere like I do, and you have to have a PO box. So you will still put your physical address, and then below that, if you have a different mailing address, that's where you can put your PO box. So then it's going to go to your demographic information, right? It's going to ask for your gender. It's going to ask for everything that's basically on your driver's license, right? Height, weight, eye color, hair color, race, and any aliases that you may go by for whatever reason. And then you're going to explain just a brief summary of what your duties are going to be. So if you are a PPO, it's going to be like guarding people, places, things while working in a plainclothes or non-uniformed capacity. Something along those lines. You can really kind of, don't put what you want, but just a brief summary of what you're going to be doing. So this brings us to the military status. If you are a veteran or active duty or a spouse thereof, you definitely get some perks with this, right? So you have to upload your DD-214 or, your appropriate documentation if you fall into one of those categories, but it gives you deep discounts, right? So what I mean by that is I'm a veteran, so I selected Armed Forces Veteran, and that brings us to this little page right here, the Military Fee Exemption Waiver. So yes, I'm applying for that fee waiver, and man, that brought down most of the licenses to about $7, $8, or $10, okay? Versus like sometimes paying over $100 or more. So really, that is a big perk right there, having the military fee exemption. So now it brings us to the Texas Peace Officer. So I'm assuming everybody watching this video is a cop, right? A Texas cop, and is interested in going or acquiring their private security license. So at this point, you would select active, right? And what do they define as active? They define active peace officer as somebody who is employed by an agency full-time at least 32 hours with full pay, okay? So you're going to select active, and it's going to bring you here to your peace officer information. You're going to put your TCOL PID number in there, your employing law enforcement agency, and then their address and, county and all that fun stuff. It's then going to bring you to your active peace officer questions. So here you have, I'm qualified for weapon type or types, choose one. So it lists semi-auto, non-semi-auto, shotgun, semi-auto and shotgun, non-semi-auto and shotgun, but no patrol rifle. And that's because private security, for whatever reason in the state of Texas, are not allowed to employ the use of patrol rifles in their dealings. I don't know why. It's stupid. But what it means by semi-auto and non-semi-auto is your semi-automatic handguns and then your non-semi-automatic handguns, being revolvers, I guess bolt actions, pump actions, I don't know. Anything that's not a semi-auto falls under that category. So most officers are qualified in semi-auto and shotguns. So you go ahead and select that one. That way, as a private security officer, you will be able to employ the use of both of those. You don't really want to limit yourself if you don't have to. And then you go to question number 2, and that's where you're going to want to review and become familiar with Chapter 1702 of the Texas Occupations Code and the related administrative rules and restrictions, okay? So after you kind of fill this out, really before, you should go through and read those, and it basically just explains like, hey, I'm a cop, I know I can work off-duty security on my own, things like that. Just make sure you're familiar. And then number 3, you certify and reply, yes, I am a full-time peace officer certified by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. And then the next question is, yes, I'm employed at least 32 hours per week by a Texas law enforcement agency. So then that brings you to your next question, specifically for the veterans. I certify that I have served on active duty and was discharged or released from active duty. Yes. And then it's going to ask you down there, have you ever been convicted of a felony, a Class A, a Class B in the last 2 years? Have you had any Class B or equivalent offenses? It's asking you all these things because those would restrict you from basically possessing firearms or having a security clearance, things like that. So then at the end there, it's going to ask you about the acknowledgments. You understand that all the fees are non-refundable. You swear that everything you put on there is the truth and all this other fun stuff, and that you, once again, reviewed the eligibility criteria of the Texas Occupations Code 1702 and the disqualifying offenses listed in the Administrative Code 35.4. So they were like, hey, you did read this and you do understand it. It's not that big a deal, but it's something that they have to do on their part for CYA, I imagine. So after this page, it does not allow me to go further because I already have this license and it says it's a duplicate license. But basically, it would tell you the fees It would tell you what the fees are for, and then it would say, okay, here's your payment information. Congratulations. So it takes a couple of weeks generally to get your pocket card. And this is your pocket card, right? Here's an example. And on the back of the pocket card, it states what licenses you have, right? So mine says private investigator, level 3 commissioned officer, and a level 4 personal protection officer, and then I think level 2 and some other stuff on there. But that's the card that you'll get, and that's what that's what you carry whenever you work, right? So that's how you get it. You go through it and you do all that, and you submit all the supporting documentation. Now, there is supporting documentation. I mentioned earlier that if you get the veteran's preference, you got to submit your DD-214. You're going to have to submit, depending on whenever you got your TCOL license, you may have to submit a fingerprint card, right? Because they will perform fingerprints and do a background check. And then for your level 4, you're also going to have to submit your Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, the MMPI. Basically, your L2. That's where you're doing like the psychological and emotional fitness for duty kind of evaluation. It's pretty simple. Most psychologists administer that, and they charge a couple bucks for it because they have doctor in front of their name. But it's something that you need to proceed with this. Other than that, you may have to show proof of qualification with a firearm. Sometimes you can get a copy of that from your agency, submit it to DPS, and you're good to go. So that's kind of the quick and dirty version of going through TOPS and getting your private security license if you're an active peace officer in the state of Texas. Now, civilians, I shouldn't say civilians really, normal people that are not cops, man, it's a little bit trickier. You got to go through the classes, you got to get the certifications and get all that knocked out of the way, and then you can apply for your licenses. But usually if you're hired on by a business, they'll walk you through that step. This is kind of for cops that are just trying to do it on their own and kind of get it expedited while you're still full-time. You might as well do it, especially if you're a veteran and you can get the licenses for like $8. You might as well just apply for as many as you can, because then whenever you move to the private sector, you already got all of it. You just got to put in the company information, say, hey, I'm employed by so-and-so, and they're like, cool, you already got all the stuff. That's one less thing we have to do. Here's the job. So hopefully that answered a few questions. If not, I am sorry. I just, was kind of frustrated whenever I was going through this process and was hoping that somebody could help kind of explain these things. And so here we are. Anyway, guys, really appreciate you joining me in today's video. If you did leave a like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. Been having a lot of fun. Check out the new website at www.jtfcon.com. We've got a lot of parts, pieces, accessories, and other things constantly coming in and out of the store. No merch. We do parts, we do pieces, and we do gear. So I can't really say much more because YouTube hates it, but go check it out and you'll see what I mean. Link down below. And once again, have a fantastic day. Stay safe. Get some training. Have a good one. And I'll see you in the next one.